The Galactic Research Station. Omega-7 hummed with quiet efficiency as Dr. Zephyra, Kel-9 examined the latest batch of biological samples from the recently discovered planet designated Earth-3. The blue-green world had caught the attention of the interstellar scientific collective not for its beauty, but for the impossible readings coming from its dominant species. Zephyra's crystalline appendages clicked nervously against her workstation as she reviewed the data for the 100th time. As a Valkyrian xenobiologist, she had studied thousands of species across the galaxy, but nothing had prepared her for what she was seeing in these human specimens. "Impossible," she whispered in her melodic language, her translator device rendering it into standard galactic. The readings showed that humans possessed no natural armor, no venomous fangs, no acidic secretions, no electromagnetic pulse capabilities, and certainly no psychic defenses. By all galactic standards, they should have been extinct within their first evolutionary cycle. Her colleague, Dr. Threx Mordain, slithered over from his adjacent station. The serpentine researcher's scales rippled with curiosity as he peered at Zephyra's display. "Still puzzling over the Earth creatures?" he hissed softly. "Perhaps the readings are corrupted. No species could survive to dominance with such limitations." Zephyra pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's ecosystem. The data painted a picture that defied everything they knew about predator-prey relationships. Humans were neither the fastest, strongest, nor most well-armed creatures on their planet. Large predators like tigers, bears, and crocodiles possessed superior physical attributes. Venomous creatures like snakes and spiders wielded deadly chemical weapons. Even herbivores like elephants and rhinoceros outmatched humans in raw power. "Look at this." Zephyra highlighted a section of data. Their planet hosts creatures that could easily overpower them. Yet humans have not only survived but have somehow become the apex species. How is this possible? Dr. Mordain's forked tongue flickered as he studied the information. His own species had evolved deadly neurotoxins and lightning-fast reflexes to dominate their homeworld. The idea of a species succeeding without superior biological weapons was incomprehensible. "Perhaps they possess hidden abilities," Mordain suggested. "Camouflage capabilities we cannot detect? Some form of telepathic coordination?" Zephyra shook her head, her bioluminescent patches dim with confusion. "Our scans are thorough. They have no natural camouflage beyond basic skin pigmentation, no telepathic abilities whatsoever, no hive-mind connection. They are by all measurements unremarkably fragile." The two scientists spent hours reviewing the data, comparing it to known predator species across the galaxy. The Zephyrian battle cats had retractable claws capable of slicing through metal. The crystalline hunters of Proxima could fire superheated projectiles from their bodies. The void stalkers could phase through solid matter to ambush prey. Every successful predator species they knew had evolved distinct advantages that placed them at the top of their respective food chains. Humans appeared to have none of these advantages, yet somehow they had not only survived but thrived on a planet filled with creatures that should have easily outcompeted them. "We need to dig deeper," Zephyra decided, her curiosity now fully aroused. "Request a full behavioral analysis from the deep space observation teams. I want to know exactly how these humans interact with their environment." As she submitted the request, Dr. Mordain noticed something in the data that made his scales ripple with unease. "Zephyra, look at this population distribution chart. The humans are not just surviving. They are the only species on their planet that has achieved global distribution. They exist in every climate zone, from frozen polar regions to scorching deserts." Zephyra's patches flared brighter as the implications hit her. In the galaxy, such adaptability was typically achieved through advanced biotechnology or natural shape-shifting abilities. Humans possessed neither, yet they had somehow colonized environments that should have been lethal to their biology. "This requires immediate attention from the Council," she declared. "We may be dealing with a species that has developed survival mechanisms completely unknown to galactic science." The mystery of humanity's dominance was about to become the most important research project in the collective's history. Neither scientist could have imagined that they were on the verge of discovering something that would fundamentally change how the galaxy understood the nature of true predators. As they prepared their preliminary report, both researchers felt a strange uneasiness. Something about these humans was deeply unsettling. Though they could not yet articulate why, the very fact that such an apparently vulnerable species had achieved apex predator status suggested abilities or behaviors that operated beyond conventional biological frameworks. The investigation into humanity's secret was about to begin, and it would reveal truths that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The question was not just how humans had survived, but how they had managed to become the undisputed rulers of their world, despite appearing to be the least qualified for the position. Unknown to the researchers, they were about to discover that evolution's greatest predator was not necessarily the one with the sharpest claws or deadliest venom, but the one with the most terrifying combination of intelligence, persistence, and complete ruthlessness when survival was at stake. 3 weeks after submitting their initial report, Dr. Zephira Kell-9 and Dr. Threx Mordain received a priority transmission from the Deep Space Observation Team stationed near Earth's solar system. The message arrived with a security classification that made both scientists' respective biological indicators spike with nervous energy. Commander Vex Stormwind, a battle-hardened Centaurian officer, appeared in the holographic display. His forearms gestured emphatically as he spoke, clearly disturbed by what his team had witnessed. "Doctors, what we observed defies our understanding of natural behavior," Stormwind began without preamble. "We documented several instances of human interaction with their planet's apex predators, and the results are unprecedented." The first recording showed a human settlement near what the locals called the African savanna. A pride of creatures called lions had been systematically hunting the herbivores that the humans relied upon for sustenance. Rather than fleeing or hiding as any rational species would, the humans had done something that shocked the observation team. "Watch carefully," Stormwind narrated as the recording played. This small group of humans, numbering only 12 individuals, decided to eliminate the threat posed by these apex predators. Zephira's bioluminescent patches flickered rapidly as she watched humans coordinate their movements with precision that rivaled military operations. They carried primitive tools, sharpened sticks, rocks, and simple projectile weapons. Against the lion's natural armor of muscle, claw, and fang, these weapons should have been utterly inadequate. But the humans did not engage in direct combat. Instead, they demonstrated something that no other species in the galaxy had been observed doing. They hunted the hunters. "Notice their methodology," Dr. Mordain observed, his scales rippling with fascination and horror. "They are not reacting to immediate threats. They are proactively eliminating future threats to their resources." The recording showed humans tracking the lions across vast distances, displaying endurance that seemed impossible for their physiology. While the lions possessed superior speed and strength, the humans simply refused to stop. They followed the pride for days, sleeping in shifts, maintaining constant pressure. When the lions finally exhausted themselves, the humans struck with coordinated precision. They used their tools to create traps, channeled the lions into unfavorable terrain, and exploited every environmental advantage. Most disturbing of all, they showed no hesitation in killing creatures that could easily overpower any individual human. "This behavior pattern repeats across their entire planet," Stormwind continued, bringing up additional recordings. "Whether facing massive predators, venomous creatures, or environmental hazards, humans consistently display the same response. They identify threats and systematically eliminate them." The next recording showed humans in a frozen landscape, hunting creatures called polar bears. These massive predators possessed thick protective fur, powerful claws, and could easily kill multiple humans in direct combat. Yet the humans had developed strategies to hunt these creatures using coordinated attacks and environmental manipulation. Zephira felt her understanding of predator-prey relationships crumbling as she watched. "They are not content to coexist," she whispered. "They are actively removing any species that could potentially challenge their dominance." Dr. Mordain highlighted something even more disturbing in the data. "Look at their expansion patterns. Wherever humans establish settlements, they do not simply adapt to the existing ecosystem. They reshape it entirely to their advantage." The recording showed humans clearing vast areas of vegetation, redirecting water sources, and eliminating any creature that might compete for resources. They had turned entire landscapes into controlled environments designed specifically for their needs. "But this still does not explain their initial survival advantage," Zephira protested. How did they achieve this position without natural weapons or defenses? Commander Stormwind's expression grew grave. That is where the recordings become truly unsettling. We observed humans in their early developmental stages, and their survival strategy is unlike anything we have encountered. The display showed primitive humans facing a massive predator, similar to what they called a saber-toothed tiger. Instead of fleeing or fighting directly, the humans did something that made the observation team question their own sensors. They began to follow the predator. At first, we assumed they were simply tracking it to avoid danger, Stormwind explained. But we were wrong. They were studying it, learning its habits, its weaknesses, its behavioral patterns, and then they began to apply that knowledge. The primitive humans waited until the saber-tooth made a kill, then systematically harassed it until it abandoned its prey. They used coordinated noise, thrown objects, and persistent presence to drive the predator away from its food. When the predator tried to find new hunting grounds, the humans followed, repeating the process. They starved it, Dr. Mordain realized with horror. They identified a superior predator and systematically destroyed its ability to survive. Zephyr's patches dimmed as the implications became clear. They did not compete with their predators. They eliminated them entirely, not through superior strength or speed, but through relentless persistence and strategic thinking. The recordings showed this pattern repeating throughout human prehistory. Massive creatures that should have easily dominated early humans instead went extinct, one by one, as humans developed increasingly sophisticated methods of elimination. There is something else, Stormwind added grimly. Our psychological analysis team believes humans possess what they are calling persistence predation behavior. Unlike any other species we have studied, humans appear to be biologically driven to continue pursuing threats until they are completely neutralized. As the implications of their discovery began to sink in, both scientists realized they were not just studying an unusual species. They were examining the behavioral patterns of what might be the most terrifying predator the galaxy had ever produced. One that hunted not with claws or venom, but with intelligence, coordination, and an apparently unlimited capacity for persistence. Dr. Zephyrah Kell-9 stood before the assembled Galactic Council's scientific committee, her bioluminescent patches pulsing with nervous energy. The grand chamber on Station Nexus Prime housed representatives from 47 different species, each the apex predator of their respective homeworlds. Today, she would present findings that would challenge everything they believed about the nature of predation. Honored council members, she began, her translator rendering her words into dozens of different languages simultaneously. Our investigation into the human species has revealed hunting behaviors that are unprecedented in galactic history. High Arbiter Krex Thul, a massive insectoid whose species had conquered their world through superior numbers and chemical warfare, clicked his mandibles impatiently. Dr. Kell-9, we have reviewed your preliminary data. These humans appear to be primitive tool users. Surely their methods cannot be more sophisticated than our own proven strategies. Zephyrah activated the holographic display, showing a three-dimensional map of Earth's prehistory. With respect, High Arbiter, I believe you will find their hunting methodology far more complex than initially apparent. The display zoomed in on the African continent, showing the migration patterns of early humans alongside the extinction timelines of megafauna. What emerged was a pattern that made several council members shift uncomfortably in their specialized seating arrangements. Observe the correlation between human expansion and large predator extinction. Zephyrah pointed to the data streams. As humans spread across continents, apex predators did not simply lose territory. They vanished entirely. Dr. Mordain, who had been granted special permission to address the council, slithered forward. We initially assumed this was normal competitive exclusion. However, detailed analysis reveals something far more systematic. The hologram shifted to show a reconstruction of a typical human hunt from their prehistoric period. Council members watched as small groups of humans pursued creatures many times their size and strength. Notice their approach, Dr. Mordain explained. They do not ambush like the shadow cats of Vega Prime. They do not use overwhelming force like the war beasts of Centauri. Instead, they employ what we have termed persistence pursuit. The reconstruction showed humans following a massive woolly mammoth across hundreds of miles. The creature, despite its size and strength, gradually weakened as the humans maintained constant pressure. They took turns maintaining pursuit, ensuring the mammoth could never rest. Council member Silandra, whose species had evolved perfect camouflage and instantaneous strikes, spoke with barely concealed disgust. "This is not hunting. This is torture. No honorable predator would exhaust prey in such a manner." Zephyra's patches flared brighter. That reaction honored Silandra, highlights exactly why humans are so successful. They have no concept of honorable hunting. They employ every available advantage without ethical constraints. The display changed to show human tool development. Unlike other species who had evolved natural weapons, humans created artificial ones. But their tool creation followed a disturbing pattern that no other species had exhibited. Observe how they modify their tools. Dr. Mordain indicated various human implements. They do not simply create hunting weapons. They engineer solutions specifically designed to overcome the natural advantages of their prey. The council watched as humans developed spears with detachable points, ensuring that wounded prey would carry the weapon and continue bleeding. They created pit traps with spikes arranged to cause maximum damage to specific anatomical weak points of different species. They even developed thrown weapons that could maintain pursuit when the humans themselves needed rest. "But this is still within normal parameters for tool-using species," protested General Vextor, whose people had developed energy weapons through technological advancement. Many species create specialized hunting implements. Zephyra manipulated the display to show human pack-hunting behavior. "General, your species developed technology over millennia. Humans perfected coordinated pack hunting within a few generations, but their coordination is unlike anything we have observed." The hologram showed early humans hunting a cave bear, a creature that could easily kill several humans in direct combat. But the humans did not engage directly. Instead, they demonstrated tactical planning that rivaled military operations. "Watch their positioning," Zephyra narrated. "Each human has a specific role. Some drive the prey toward predetermined locations. Others prepare traps and escape routes. Still others serve as backup hunters if the primary plan fails." What disturbed the council most was the humans' apparent ability to predict their prey's behavior with uncanny accuracy. They positioned themselves exactly where panicked animals would flee, anticipated defensive reactions, and prepared countermeasures for every possible escape attempt. "They seem to understand their prey better than the prey understands itself," observed Dr. Zethrin, whose telepathic species had dominated their world through mental manipulation.
"How is this possible without psychic abilities?"
Dr. Mordain's scales rippled with unease as he answered. "They study their targets obsessively. Humans will observe a single species for generations, learning every behavioral pattern, every weakness, every predictable response. They accumulate knowledge across multiple lifetimes." The display showed human settlements where knowledge was passed down through elaborate teaching methods. Unlike most species who relied on instinctual hunting behaviors, humans systematically educated their young in the specific weaknesses of every potential prey species. They create detailed mental maps of their prey's psychology. Zephyra continued. "They know exactly how each species will react to different types of pressure: fear, exhaustion, injury, separation from offspring. Humans have cataloged the optimal responses to every emotional and physical state." High Arbiter Krexthul's compound eyes focused intently on the data. "You are suggesting they treat hunting as warfare?" "More than warfare," Dr. Mordain replied. "Warfare implies conflict between equals. This is systematic extermination based on superior intelligence and complete ruthlessness." The hologram shifted to show the extinction patterns more clearly. As humans spread across Earth, they had not simply outcompeted other predators. They had identified every species that could potentially threaten their dominance and systematically eliminated them from existence. The pattern is consistent across every continent they colonized, Zephyra concluded. Humans do not seek coexistence with apex predators. They engineer their complete removal from the ecosystem. As the presentation ended, the council chamber fell silent. For species who had achieved dominance through natural evolution of superior weapons, the human approach was both alien and terrifying. They had witnessed something that challenged the fundamental assumptions about predator behavior across the galaxy. The humans had proven that the deadliest predator was not necessarily the one with the sharpest teeth or strongest claws, but the one with the most sophisticated understanding of how to systematically destroy anything that stood in its way. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened 3 days after Dr. Kel-9's initial presentation. Representatives from across the galaxy had traveled to Station Nexus Prime, many arriving ahead of schedule as news of the human discovery spread through diplomatic channels. The chamber buzzed with nervous energy as species who had never agreed on anything found themselves united in concern. Admiral Tuscanara of the Rhinon Empire, whose people had evolved armored hides and devastating charge attacks, stood to address the assembly. Her massive frame dominated the speaking platform as she gestured toward the central display. Fellow council members, we have received additional data from our deep space observation teams that reveals an even more disturbing aspect of human behavior. What we initially interpreted as simple pack hunting appears to be something far more sophisticated. Dr. Mordain, now serving as the primary human behavioral specialist, activated a new set of recordings. The images showed human settlements during what their species called the Ice Age, when their planet's climate had become hostile to most life forms. During this period of environmental stress, we expected to observe typical survival behaviors, Dr. Mordain explained. Competition for resources, territorial disputes, population reduction due to scarcity. Instead, we witnessed something that defies our understanding of how intelligent species respond to crisis. The recordings showed human groups across vast distances somehow coordinating their activities. Without any apparent communication method, when one group discovered a new hunting technique, similar innovations appeared simultaneously among human populations thousands of miles away. Impossible, hissed General Zarthek, whose serpentine species communicated through pheromone release.
No species can share information across such distances without technological assistance or natural telepathic abilities. Dr. Zephyra stepped forward, her bioluminescent patches dim with worry.
General, we initially shared your skepticism. However, extended observation has revealed that humans possess what we can only describe as distributed intelligence capabilities. The display showed a remarkable sequence of events. When humans in one region learned to create fire, populations across the globe began developing similar techniques within the same generational time frame. When they discovered new hunting strategies, these innovations spread far faster than any known method of information transfer could explain. They appear to function as a single, planet-wide predatory organism, Dr. Mordain continued. Individual humans may seem isolated, but they somehow share learned behaviors across their entire species with unprecedented efficiency. Council member Zixandra, whose crystalline species had evolved perfect logical thinking, challenged the assertion. You are suggesting they possess hive mind capabilities, yet your scans show no telepathic activity. This contradicts your own data. Dr. Zephyra manipulated the display to show human social structures. The mechanism is not telepathic, but it achieves similar results. Humans have developed what they call culture, a system for preserving and transmitting knowledge that transcends individual lifespans. The Council watched as humans demonstrated teaching behaviors that went far beyond simple parent-offspring instruction. They created elaborate methods for preserving information, developed symbolic communication systems, and established social hierarchies specifically designed to ensure the most successful hunting strategies were passed to future generations. But most remarkably, Dr. Mordain added, they actively improve upon inherited knowledge. Each generation of humans becomes more efficient at predation than the previous one. This concept sent ripples of unease through the chamber. Most galactic species relied on instinctual behaviors that remained constant across evolutionary timescales. The idea of a species that could rapidly improve its hunting capabilities within single generations was unprecedented. Admiral Tuscanara highlighted another disturbing pattern. Our analysis shows that humans do not simply cooperate during hunts. They have developed specialized roles that allow individual humans to contribute to predatory success even when they are not directly participating in the hunt. The recording showed human settlements where different individuals focused on creating better weapons, developing new tracking techniques, studying prey behavior, and teaching hunting strategies. Some humans never participated in actual hunts but contributed to their species' predatory success. Through research and innovation, they have industrialized predation, observed Dr. Kethrall, whose mechanical species had achieved dominance through technological superiority. They treat hunting as a science to be perfected rather than an instinctual behavior. The display shifted to show human responses to prey adaptation. When species developed defensive behaviors against human hunting techniques, the humans did not simply adapt their strategies. They systematically analyzed the new defenses and developed multiple countermeasures. Notice their response time. Dr. Zafira pointed to the timeline data. When their prey evolves new survival strategies, humans develop effective counters within mere decades. They are essentially engaged in accelerated evolutionary warfare. Dr. Mordain brought up recordings of human intergroup behavior that proved even more unsettling. We also observed what happens when human groups encounter other human groups competing for the same resources. The Council watched as human tribes engaged in what could only be described as warfare, but with the same systematic efficiency they applied to hunting other species. They studied their human opponents' weaknesses, developed specific strategies to exploit cultural and psychological vulnerabilities, and applied the same persistence predation techniques they used on animals. They hunt their own species with the same methodical precision they use on other predators, Dr. Mordain explained. When resources become scarce, humans do not simply compete. They actively work to eliminate competing human groups entirely. High Arbiter Krextol's mandibles clicked rapidly as the implications became clear. You are documenting a species that has weaponized intelligence itself. They have turned cognitive abilities into the ultimate predatory advantage. The display showed human expansion patterns across their planet, revealing a systematic approach to ecosystem domination that had never been observed in galactic history. As humans spread to new territories, they did not adapt to existing food webs. They reconstructed entire ecosystems to optimize their own survival advantages. They reshaped their environment rather than adapting to it, Dr. Zafira summarized. Every human settlement becomes the center of a modified ecosystem designed specifically to support human predatory activities. As the session continued, Council members began to realize they were not simply studying an unusual species. They were examining the behavioral patterns of what might be the most efficient predatory organism the galaxy had ever produced. The humans had achieved something that no other known species had accomplished. They had turned intelligence itself into a biological weapon, creating a distributed predatory system that could learn, adapt, and improve faster than any other form of life could evolve defenses against it. The question now facing the Galactic Council was not just how humans had achieved dominance on their world, but what would happen if such a species ever expanded beyond their home planet and encountered the rest of galactic civilization. The Galactic Medical Consortium's emergency meeting had been called to examine the most disturbing aspect of human physiology yet discovered. Dr. Medhyra Vestalon, the galaxy's leading expert in comparative biology, stood before a gathering of the finest medical minds from across known space. Her tendrils writhed with nervous energy as she prepared to present findings that challenged everything they understood about biological limitations. Colleagues, she began, her voice carrying the weight of profound concern. Our detailed analysis of human physiology has revealed capabilities that appear to violate fundamental biological principles. The assembled medical experts represented species that had evolved the most sophisticated survival mechanisms in the galaxy. The regenerative colony could regrow entire limbs within days. The armored Thexians possessed shells that could withstand energy weapons. The toxic Sarathi could produce dozens of different venoms, yet none of them were prepared for what the human studies had revealed. Dr. Vestalon activated the first biological scan, showing a human cardiovascular system in operation. Initial examination suggests a standard mammalian configuration. However, observe what happens when the human enters pursuit mode. The display showed a human chasing prey across vast distances. As the pursuit continued, the human's physiology began demonstrating capabilities that defied medical understanding. Heart rate increased, but instead of reaching exhaustion, the human's efficiency seemed to improve over time. Notice the respiratory adaptation. Dr. Vestalon highlighted the lung function data. Humans can maintain optimal oxygen distribution for extended periods that would cause organ failure in most species. But this is not their most remarkable feature. She switched to thermal imaging that showed heat distribution throughout the human body during extended pursuit. Unlike other predators who overheated quickly during sustained activity, humans demonstrated an almost supernatural ability to regulate body temperature. Dr. Krinthex, whose crystalline species maintained perfect thermal equilibrium, studied the data with growing amazement. Their heat dissipation system appears to be more efficient than our own technological cooling systems. How is this possible with such primitive biology? Humans possess millions of microscopic heat regulation units across their skin surface, Dr. Vestalon explained. They can literally cool themselves while maintaining pursuit. No other known predator possesses this capability. The medical team watched recordings of persistence hunts that lasted for days. Humans would pursue prey across hundreds of miles, maintaining steady pressure while their targets exhausted themselves. The most disturbing aspect was that humans seemed to gain energy from the pursuit itself. Dr. Mordain, whose species could hibernate for decades to conserve energy, questioned the metabolic data. These readings suggest they can sustain high-energy activities indefinitely. This violates basic thermodynamic principles. Dr. Vestalon brought up comparative endurance studies. We tested human capabilities against our most enduring species. The results are unprecedented. The display showed humans competing against the legendary endurance runners of Sigma Draconis, creatures that had evolved specifically for ultra-long distance travel. In controlled conditions, humans not only matched their performance but exceeded it when pursuing prey. But endurance alone does not explain their predatory success, Dr. Vestalon continued. The truly terrifying aspect is their psychological response to extended pursuit. Brain scans showed human neural activity during long hunting expeditions. Instead of showing stress responses or fatigue markers, human brains demonstrated increased activity in reward centers. They were literally experiencing pleasure from the exhaustion of their prey. They become more effective predators the longer the hunt continues, she explained. While their prey experiences increasing desperation and exhaustion, humans experience escalating satisfaction and focus. Dr. Zelnara, whose empathic species could sense emotional states across vast distances, recoiled from the data. This suggests they are biologically programmed to enjoy the suffering of their targets. Such psychology would be considered pathological in any civilized species. The medical analysis revealed even more disturbing capabilities. Humans demonstrated remarkable resistance to environmental extremes, injury tolerance that bordered on the supernatural, and an ability to continue functioning despite damage that would incapacitate other species. Observe their response to injury during pursuit. Dr. Vestalon showed recordings of humans continuing hunts despite significant wounds. They possess pain tolerance mechanisms that allow them to ignore physical damage until their objective is achieved. The display showed a human who had been severely injured by prey, but continued pursuing the wounded animal for 2 additional days until it collapsed from exhaustion. The human then successfully completed the hunt before seeking treatment for injuries that should have been immediately incapacitating. Their pain response system can be voluntarily overridden, Dr. Vestalon explained. When engaged in pursuit, humans can essentially turn off their body's warning systems and continue operating beyond normal biological limits. Dr. Zurthak, whose warrior species prided itself on pain tolerance, studied the data with disbelief. Even our most elite warriors cannot maintain combat effectiveness with such injuries. How do they override basic survival instincts? That may be the most disturbing aspect of human psychology, Dr. Vestalon replied. For humans, the pursuit itself becomes a survival instinct stronger than self-preservation. They will risk death to ensure their prey does not escape. The medical team examined recordings of human pack hunts, where individuals sacrificed themselves to ensure group success. Humans would deliberately draw dangerous prey toward themselves, accepting near-certain death to create opportunities for other hunters. They treat individual survival as less important than hunting success, Dr. Vestalon observed. This represents a complete inversion of normal biological priorities. The psychological analysis revealed that humans possessed stress responses that actually enhanced their predatory capabilities. Fear, anger, and desperation seemed to trigger biological changes that made them more dangerous rather than less effective. Under extreme stress, they enter what they call berserker states. Dr. Vestalon showed neural scans of humans in combat situations. Their strength increases, pain sensitivity decreases, and tactical thinking becomes completely focused on eliminating threats. Dr. Hepnoda, whose species had evolved advanced emotional control mechanisms, was visibly disturbed by the implications. You are describing a species that becomes more dangerous when threatened. This contradicts every model of rational behavior. As the presentation concluded, the medical experts realized they had been studying something unprecedented in galactic history. Humans had evolved not just as persistent predators, but as biological machines specifically designed for the systematic elimination of any species that might compete with them. Their endurance capabilities, pain tolerance, psychological responses, and physiological adaptations all pointed to one terrifying conclusion. Humans were apex predators, not because they were stronger or faster than their competition, but because they were literally incapable of giving up once they had identified a target. The medical consortium's final report would conclude that humans represented the most perfectly designed predatory organism ever documented, a species that had weaponized persistence itself into an unstoppable biological force. The Galactic Technology Assessment Division had been monitoring human technological development for 6 months when Director Kexnal Thyron called an emergency meeting. His species, the techno-architects of Proxima Beta, had built their civilization on the principle that technological advancement followed predictable patterns across all intelligent species. What they had observed on Earth shattered those assumptions completely. Esteemed colleagues, Director Thyron addressed the assembly of technology specialists, his cybernetic implants glowing with agitation. We are witnessing technological development that operates outside all known parameters of civilizational advancement. The specialists represented the most technologically advanced species in the galaxy. The silicon-based architects had developed nanotechnology over millions of years. The energy manipulators of Vega had mastered plasma control through millennia of careful research. The quantum engineers had spent eons perfecting interdimensional travel. All of them followed logical progression patterns from simple tools to complex technologies. Humans, Director Thyron continued, appear to have developed a completely different approach to technological innovation, one that may represent the most dangerous advancement pattern we have ever encountered. The display showed human technological development across their recorded history. Instead of the steady logical progression observed in other species, human technology demonstrated explosive advancement cycles that defied conventional understanding. Dr. Silvex, whose crystalline species had developed perfect mathematical models for technological growth, studied the data with growing confusion. These advancement curves are impossible. No species can maintain such rapid innovation cycles without exhausting their intellectual resources. Director Thyron highlighted specific periods in human development. Notice the acceleration points. When humans encounter challenges, their technological advancement does not follow predictable patterns. Instead, they demonstrate what we can only call crisis innovation. The recording showed humans facing extinction-level threats from climate change, resource depletion, and conflict. Rather than adapting slowly or migrating to more favorable conditions, humans consistently responded by developing technologies that eliminated the threats entirely. Observe their response to Ice Age conditions, Director Thyron narrated. Instead of evolving biological adaptations like other species, they invented fire control, clothing, and shelter technologies. They transformed a hostile environment into a controlled habitat. Dr. Moltrans, whose species had spent centuries developing heating technologies, examined the human fire control methods with amazement. They achieved environmental control with primitive materials. Our ancestors required advanced energy manipulation capabilities to accomplish similar results. The display shifted to show human tool development during their prehistoric period. Unlike other species who slowly refined existing tools over generations, humans demonstrated an ability to conceptualize entirely new tool categories within single lifetimes. They do not simply improve existing technologies, Director Thyron explained. They fundamentally reconceptualize how tools can be used. They treat technology as a creative process rather than an evolutionary one. The specialists watched humans developing projectile weapons that could kill from distances far exceeding their natural reach. They created tools that amplified their strength by orders of magnitude. Most remarkably, they developed technologies specifically designed to overcome the natural advantages of other species. When facing armored predators, they did not develop stronger weapons, Director Thyron noted. They developed penetrating weapons. When hunting fast prey, they did not increase their speed. They created trapping technologies, They consistently approach problems by developing solutions that bypass natural limitations entirely. Dr. Zixandra, whose logical species prided itself on efficient problem-solving, was disturbed by the human approach. This represents incredibly inefficient resource allocation. Why develop complex technologies when simple adaptation would suffice? Because, Director Thyron replied, humans do not appear to think in terms of adaptation. They think in terms of control. Every technology they develop increases their ability to manipulate their environment rather than adapt to it. The display showed human agricultural development, revealing innovation patterns that had never been observed in galactic history. Instead of simply gathering available food sources, humans had systematically modified plant and animal species to better serve their needs. They reshape biology itself, Director Thyron explained. They do not accept natural limitations. They engineer solutions that eliminate constraints entirely. The specialists watched humans selectively breeding plants and animals, creating species that existed nowhere in nature. They developed agricultural systems that could produce food in any climate on any terrain, under virtually any conditions. Dr. Krinthex studied the genetic modification data with growing unease. They are altering evolution itself. They have turned biological development into a technology they can control. This pattern accelerates as their civilization develops. Director Thyron continued. Humans demonstrate increasing ability to innovate solutions to problems they have not yet encountered. The display showed human military technology development during their various conflicts. Humans consistently developed weapons designed to overcome defensive technologies that did not yet exist. They created countermeasures for threats they had only theorized about. They engage in what we can only call anticipatory innovation, Director Thyron observed. They develop technologies to solve problems before those problems actually arise. The most disturbing aspect of human innovation was their approach to failure. Unlike other species who abandoned unsuccessful technological paths, humans seem to learn from failure at an unprecedented rate. Observe their response to technological setbacks. Director Thyron showed recordings of humans dealing with failed innovations. They do not simply try again. They analyze the failure, extract useful information, and apply that knowledge to completely different technological challenges. The specialists watched humans turn failed weapon designs into successful agricultural tools, convert unsuccessful transportation methods into effective communication systems, and transform failed energy projects into breakthrough manufacturing techniques. They waste nothing, Dr. Silvex observed with amazement. Every failure becomes a foundation for future success. This represents the most efficient innovation system we have ever documented. Director Thyron brought up the most recent human technological developments, showing advancement rates that seem to violate basic principles of research and development. In their most recent developmental period, humans achieved technological milestones in decades that required our species millennia to accomplish, he explained. They developed computing systems, energy manipulation, and space travel capabilities with frightening efficiency. The display showed human collaborative research methods that explained their rapid advancement. Unlike other species who guarded technological secrets, humans had developed systems for sharing knowledge that allowed multiple groups to work on the same problem simultaneously. They have industrialized innovation itself, Director Thyron concluded. They treat technological development as a systematic process that can be optimized and accelerated. Dr. Hypnota, whose species had dominated through careful technological planning, studied the human data with growing concern. This suggests they can develop countermeasures to any technology they encounter. They would not remain impressed by our advanced systems for long. As the meeting concluded, the Technology Assessment Division reached a sobering conclusion. Humans had not simply achieved dominance through persistence or endurance. They had weaponized creativity itself, developing an innovation system that could rapidly overcome any challenge or threat they encountered. The implications were staggering. A species that could consistently out-innovate any competitor would not be limited by the natural constraints that controlled other civilizations. They would continue developing capabilities until they achieved complete control over their environment, their biology, and potentially any other species they encountered. The human approach to technology represented something the galaxy had never seen before, a species that refused to accept limitations, and possessed the innovative capacity to eliminate any obstacle they identified as standing in their way. The Grand Assembly of the Galactic Council convened an emergency session for the first time in over 1,000 years. Representatives from every known intelligent species had gathered on Station Nexus Prime, their various forms of transportation crowding the station's massive docking bays. The chamber itself had been reconfigured to accommodate the largest gathering in galactic history, as species who had never before met face-to-face found themselves united by a common concern. High Chancellor Mordun Krethax, whose ancient species had witnessed the rise and fall of entire civilizations, called the assembly to order. His crystalline form resonated with harmonic frequencies that translated into every known language simultaneously. "Fellow beings," he began, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority, "we have gathered to address a discovery that may fundamentally alter our understanding of intelligence, predation, and survival in this galaxy." Dr. Zephyra Kell-9 stood before the assembly, her research having transformed her from an obscure xenobiologist into the galaxy's foremost expert on what was now being called the human question. Beside her, the complete research team that had spent months studying humanity prepared to present their final conclusions. "Honored representatives," Dr. Zephyra began, "our comprehensive study of the species called humans has revealed characteristics that challenge every assumption we have made about the nature of apex predators." The massive display screen activated, showing a complete behavioral profile of humanity that had taken the combined efforts of the galaxy's finest scientists to compile. What they had discovered was a predatory system so sophisticated and terrifying that it had kept many researchers awake during their species' equivalent of sleep cycles. "Humans," Dr. Zephyra continued, "have achieved dominance on their world not through superior physical attributes, but through the development of what we can only describe as total predatory optimization." The assembly watched as the display demonstrated human capabilities across every category that defined successful predators. Physical endurance that exceeded mechanically enhanced species, psychological persistence that bordered on pathological, innovation capabilities that allowed them to overcome any defensive adaptation, social coordination that functioned as distributed intelligence. "They have weaponized every aspect of their existence," Dr. Mordain added, his serpentine form coiling with nervous energy. "Intelligence, cooperation, endurance, creativity. Even their emotional responses have been optimized for predatory success." High Arbiter Krexthal, whose insectoid species had dominated their homeworld through superior numbers and chemical warfare, studied the data with growing unease. "Dr. Kell-9, your research suggests that humans represent a form of predator that our defensive strategies cannot address. How can we verify these conclusions?" Dr. Zephyra activated a series of predictive models that the research team had developed. "We have created simulations based on human behavioral patterns. The results are disturbing." The display showed theoretical scenarios of human contact with various galactic species. In every simulation, regardless of the technological or biological advantages possessed by other species, humans consistently developed countermeasures and elimination strategies. "They do not seek coexistence," Dr. Zephyr explained. "Every pattern we have observed suggests that humans fundamentally cannot tolerate the existence of potential competitors. They will persistently work to eliminate any species that could theoretically challenge their dominance." The assembly erupted in concerned communications as representatives realized the implications. Species who had considered themselves invulnerable due to technological advancement, physical superiority, or psychic abilities discovered that humans had already demonstrated capabilities to overcome similar advantages on their own planet. Admiral Tuscanara of the Rhinon Empire, whose armored warriors had never met their match in combat, voiced the concern weighing on many minds. "Are you suggesting that humans represent an existential threat to galactic civilization?" Dr. Zephyra's bioluminescent patches dimmed as she answered. "Admiral, our analysis suggests that humans may represent the ultimate evolutionary development of predatory intelligence. They are what happens when a species optimizes every survival mechanism toward the goal of eliminating competition." The display showed human expansion patterns across their planet, revealing systematic elimination of potential threats that had resulted in complete ecosystem domination. Humans had not simply achieved apex predator status. They had eliminated the concept of competition entirely within their environment. Notice their approach to other intelligent species on their planet. Dr. Mordain highlighted extinction data. When humans encountered other human subspecies, they did not compete or coexist. They systematically absorbed or eliminated every variant, until only one human type remained. This information sent waves of concern through species who had assumed that intelligence naturally led to cooperation. Between similar beings, humans had demonstrated that intelligence could instead lead to more efficient elimination of potential competitors. Director Thyron of the Technology Assessment Division presented the final piece of their analysis. Our technological studies reveal that humans possess innovation capabilities that could theoretically overcome any defensive system we might develop. They approach problems with creative solutions that operate outside conventional parameters. The assembly watched simulations showing human responses to various theoretical defensive technologies. In every case, humans had developed innovative approaches that bypassed or neutralized advanced defenses through unexpected angles of attack. They do not engage problems directly, Director Thyron explained. They identify weaknesses that other species do not recognize and exploit them with ruthless efficiency. High Chancellor Mordun called for order as the Assembly's discussions grew more agitated. The question before us is clear. If these conclusions are accurate, how should galactic civilization respond to this potential threat? Dr. Zephyra stepped forward to address the final implications of their research. Honored Chancellor, our studies suggest that humans are currently developing space travel capabilities. Based on their technological advancement patterns, they may achieve interstellar travel within several generations. The chamber fell silent as the full weight of the situation became clear. A species that had systematically eliminated all competition on their planet possessed unlimited persistence in pursuing objectives, and could innovate solutions to any challenge might soon be expanding beyond their solar system. Our recommendation, Dr. Zephyra continued, is that the galaxy must decide whether to establish contact with humans before they develop interstellar capabilities, or whether to take preventive measures to ensure they never leave their home system. The debate that followed would last for days, as species across the galaxy grappled with a question that had never before been posed. What should civilization do when confronted with a predator so perfect that it might represent an extinction-level threat to all other intelligent life? As the Grand Assembly continued their deliberations, one fact remained undeniable. The galaxy had discovered something that challenged everything they believed about the nature of intelligence, cooperation, and survival. Humans had achieved dominance not by being the strongest or fastest predators, but by being the most complete predators, a species that had optimized every aspect of their existence for the systematic elimination of anything that might stand in their way. The question now was whether the galaxy's combined wisdom and technology could find a way to coexist with such perfectly evolved predators, or whether the universe was only large enough for one truly apex species.